The Lakers fired Frank Vogel right at the end of the season. Although the way it happened is less than ideal, it was a move that they had to make. This was bound to happen. There have been rumors of him getting fired throughout the season, and honestly, there are many of us who are surprised that he lasted this long. Now let's be clear, Frank Vogel was put in an impossible situation. I doubt any coach would be able to succeed with this team. The roster was full of old, injury-prone players, many of which no longer belong in the NBA. He's a defensive coach, and the front office didn't give him any defensive players. Any coach would have a difficult time winning with this team. He definitely doesn't deserve all the blame, or even most of it. That has to go to the front office. But he's not entirely faultless either. And this terrible season really exposed his deficiencies as a coach. One of his weaknesses was the offense. Again, he's a defensive-minded coach. He was never known for his offensive tactics, which was fine in the past because the defense was good enough to make up for it. Plus, he had an assistant coach in Jason Kidd who could act like the offensive coordinator. With those two things gone this season, the offense really suffered. The Lakers ranked 22nd in offensive rating. Their offense was pretty much give LeBron the ball and get out of the way. And a lot of times that has been a working formula for LeBron James-led teams. But you gotta have the right role players, the proper spacing for that to work. And the Lakers didn't this season. But still, you gotta find a way. You gotta establish a system that can optimize the pieces that you do have. And Frank Vogel didn't do that. The Lakers had absolutely no identity on either end of the floor. We reached the end of the season, and we still don't really know what this team is. Was it a fast-breaking team? Was it a pound-the-paint type of team? Was it a small ball team? Was it a big team? There's really nothing we can point to that the Lakers did consistently well this season. And that's something that the coach is supposed to establish early in the season. The coach needs to identify what pieces he has and how to best utilize those pieces. You gotta have an identity, something you can hang your hat on, and the Lakers didn't have that. The Lakers had more starting lineups than wins this year. And a lot of that is due to injuries and guys' availability being so volatile with things like health and safety protocol. But at the same time, you gotta establish who your best players are. You gotta know what your go-to starting lineup is. And Vogel took way too long to make that decision. I'm not even sure if he ever made that decision. I don't know if he ever came up with his go-to starting lineup. And that's terrible for team chemistry because guys don't know where they stand. They don't know what to expect from night to night. Nobody, other than LeBron, had consistent roles. Many of us were left confused with Vogel's decisions. Towards the end of the season, the Lakers were actually winning some games, and they were looking pretty good when they were playing the young guys. Austin Reeves was playing really well. And then all of a sudden, after starting a whole bunch of games, in an important game against the Pelicans that would go on to affect the standings, Vogel decides to play Avery Bradley instead and bench Austin Reeves, not playing him at all. Like, what is going on? You gotta have more awareness of who's actually going to give you quality minutes. One very strange decision was his insistence to play Russell Westbrook. It absolutely makes no sense. Everyone could see that Russell Westbrook was detrimental to the team. The advanced stats are there to prove it. He was a terrible fit with LeBron. Vogel stuck with him way too long. Although there was a point where he did bench him at the end of games. But he never tried bringing Westbrook off the bench. When you're losing like the Lakers were, you gotta try everything. And I'm not sure why he didn't try playing Westbrook off the bench. It's not like they had a great relationship, that Westbrook was his guy. Westbrook didn't speak too highly of Vogel at his exit interview. He even said something like, "I don't know what his problem is with me." And he felt like he didn't have a chance. So why did Vogel keep on starting him if their relationship was rocky anyway? And you'd think maybe because the franchise invested so much in Westbrook, around $40 million, that the higher-ups would pressure Vogel to play Westbrook. But it was actually the opposite. They were telling him to bench Westbrook, do whatever it takes to win. But he still refused, and Westbrook still started all these games. Vogel was consistently being outcoached. His in-game adjustments, or lack thereof, were awful. There would be times when they were getting killed in the paint, getting out-rebounded and outscored, but he would stick to his small ball lineup. And there were times when he would go big, and they would consistently get beat off the dribble. Or there would be times when a guy like Malik Monk was hot, and he would bench him. His in-game decisions were questionable at best, and you could really see where he was lacking as a tactician, especially when faced with a more formidable coach. So although it does feel like Vogel is the scapegoat for this bad season, there are plenty of reasons why the Lakers are justified in firing him, although it was handled absolutely poorly. The news got announced right as the Lakers won their final game of the season. I'm not sure if it was Woj's fault for announcing it at that time or the Lakers for leaking it. Either way, it's not a good look, and some potential replacement candidates have been turned off to the idea of coaching the Lakers due to their poor treatment of its head coaches in recent years. I'm sure there will still be plenty of candidates. There are only a few vacancies for head coaches in the NBA right now, and there are plenty of coaches seeking that opportunity, especially for a team like the Lakers. But the top choices, especially some that have been linked to the Lakers, they might not want to take the Lakers' job due to its history with its coaches, and also the pressure that comes with the job. And with Frank Vogel, the Lakers chose his coaching staff and were very involved in coaching decisions, often being in coaches' meetings. The top coaches in the league might not be too fond of the idea of Rob Pelinka and Kurt Rambis playing helicopter front office. So if the Lakers want these top coaches, they need to make some changes in their approach. But maybe they don't want the top coaches. Maybe they just want someone they can control. But either way, there will be a new head coach next season, and the hiring process will definitely be interesting.